My name is Abdullaye, and I've been a night guard at a local market for more than 8 years. It's a job most people think is simple: open, close, watch. But unless you've spent an entire night alone in the silent aisles of a market, you don't really know what it's like to hear every tiny sound and wonder if this time it's not just the wind, but someone. It was a Friday night in July, around 11 p.m. The air was heavy, like a storm was coming. My partner Pop was on leave, so I was completely alone. I did my first patrol. Everything looked normal. But around midnight, I noticed something strange. The padlock on the main gate had been put back, upside down. I walked closer, touched the metal. It was warm, like someone had just been there. Something was off. I went inside, flashlight in hand. The fabric aisle was empty. But far down the corridor, I saw a shadow move. Before I could say a word, something hit me hard on the back of my head. Everything went black, and I opened my eyes. I was on the floor, my wrists tied with an electric cable, my mouth sealed with duct tape. Around me, 3 men, dressed in dark coveralls, wearing gloves. No words, no sounds. They moved like they knew the place by heart. One of them pulled out a key ring, opened each shop without hesitation. They knew exactly where to go. Another one held the flashlight, switching it on only for a few seconds each time. Everything they did was precise, methodical. That's when I realized these weren't random thieves. They were from the market. I tried to move, but the tallest one looked at me. A cold, piercing look that froze me. He took out a knife and slowly pressed it against my cheek. Just one gesture, but I understood perfectly. Don't move. They worked for almost an hour. Then one of them whispered, "We're done. Clean up." And before leaving, they unplugged all the security cameras, except one, a small one, hidden under a beam in the back corridor. A camera most people didn't even know existed. I saw its little red light blinking faintly as they disappeared. A few minutes after they left, I managed to free myself, dizzy, trembling. I ran straight to the nearest police station, my hands shaking, face covered in sweat and dust. And they came with me right away. But it was too late. Everything had been cleaned up, neat, professional. The next morning, the market director arrived. I told him everything. He listened quietly, then said, "Abdullahi, take some rest. We'll handle it." 2 days later, I went back. I wanted to see the camera footage. The head of security showed me a short clip, barely 20 seconds. 3 figures walking down the corridor, and behind them, a 4th one. A man, no mask, his face half in shadow. The image was blurry, but a chill ran down my spine. The body shape, the walk, even the way he held the flashlight. Everything reminded me of Pape. The clip was too fuzzy, too fast. Maybe it was just a coincidence. A week later, Pape came back from his vacation. He smiled like nothing happened. He even laughed and said, "So, was it hard working without me?" I tried to smile back, but couldn't. Since that night, one question keeps haunting me. What if it wasn't a coincidence? What if it really was him behind that mask? I guess I'll never know. I've been selling fruits and smoked fish for almost 15 years. I've seen everything: the seasons, the thieves, the traders who come and go. But what happened 3 years ago, I will never forget. It was February, a quiet time of the year. The market moved to its usual rhythm: shouting, smells, dust, arguments, laughter. And then, one morning, a new woman appeared. She set up her table a few blocks from mine, in a spot that had been empty for months. She was short, always wearing a clean wrapper and a perfectly tied headscarf. She didn't talk much, but when she did, her voice was soft and calm. On her table, she sold homemade food: ginger juice, yogurt, and small fried donuts. And within just 1 week, everyone was talking about her. Customers crowded around her stall. People said her yogurt had a special taste, her hibiscus juice, sweeter, more fragrant than any other. Even the oldest vendors went to buy from her, just to try. I usually just greeted her from afar, but I noticed she never looked me straight in the eyes. She always arrived very early, before anyone else, and she always left first, before sunset. No gossip, no small talk, just silence and work. Every day her table looked better, cleaner, fuller, more organized. One morning I tried to joke with her. I said, "Sister, don't you ever sleep? You're always here before everyone." She smiled slightly and replied, "Work is a blessing." Then she fixed her scarf and went back to her table. Nothing strange, not yet. Find until that weekend. Saturday, just before noon, a customer rushed to me, panicked. She said her son had fallen sick during the night. Vomiting, fever, stomach pain. She added they had all drunk the ginger juice from the new woman. At first, I didn't think much of it, but the next day, I heard there were 4 more cases in the same neighborhood. By Monday morning, the rumor had spread all over the market. Entire families had been hospitalized after drinking her juices for several days. When the health inspectors came to investigate, the woman was gone. Her table, empty. No bottles, no cloth, nothing. Even the table cover she used every day had disappeared. Some said she ran away during the night. Others swore they saw her leaving in a taxi with 2 big black suitcases. An old vendor even claimed she was never alone, that a man often waited for her outside the market, but no one knew who she really was or where she came from. The poisonings stopped right after she disappeared. The victims survived, thankfully, but the woman was never seen again. A few weeks later, on a rainy evening, I closed my stall early. As I walked past the place where she used to sit, I noticed something. No one had taken her spot since, and those who tried never stayed more than a few days. They said their products just didn't sell. But deep down, I think it was something else. A year later, that spot was removed from the market map, as if it had never existed. But everyone who works here knows the mark she left is still there, and it always will be. I've been selling vegetables at the big market for 3 years now. Every morning, I arrive with my cart and my baskets of yams, onions, and peppers. It was a Saturday. The market was packed and loud. just like every weekend. My son, Idris, only 10 years old, was with me that day. He loved helping me, giving change, joking with customers, feeling proud to be part of it. He was wearing a little yellow t-shirt. I told him, "Don't wander off, okay? Stay where I can see you." Around 10 a.m., he asked if he could go buy some sweet donuts from the woman next door. I watched him walk away, between two rows of stalls. And that was the last time I saw him. At first, I didn't panic. I thought he was just chatting with friends or playing soccer nearby. But 10 minutes passed, then 20. And a strange feeling started growing inside me. I began calling, "Idris! Idris!" No answer. I ran through the alleys, asking everyone. No one had seen him come back. The bread seller told me she'd seen him. He bought a donut, and then a man behind him offered to pay, saying he was a friend of the family. My blood froze. We searched everywhere. The guards, the vendors, even the customers joined in. Nothing. My child had vanished in the middle of the crowd. I spent the night at the police station. They promised to investigate. But deep down, I already knew something terrible had happened. The next morning, a young fabric seller came to see the police. He said he'd noticed two men the day before, strangers, well-dressed, hanging around the market for several days. They watched people, spoke very little, and had even asked about the kids who helped their parents. That detail changed everything. The police searched the area for 2 days. Then, on the third morning, a call came in. A child had been found in an abandoned building on the edge of town. When I got there, my heart nearly stopped. Idris was sitting on the floor, his hands tied. He looked like he'd aged years overnight. He was breathing, moving, but he didn't speak. He just stared at the door, eyes wide open. Next to him were plastic bags and half-empty water bottles. The police arrested 2 men nearby, trying to flee in an old white car. One of them wore a red t-shirt, the same color the bread seller had described. When they were questioned, they said almost nothing. Only one word: the network. Investigators later found out they were part of an illegal group involved in kidnappings across several cities in the region. No one ever knew how many children they had already taken. The case is still marked as under investigation. For weeks, Idris didn't speak. He barely slept, had nightmares, woke up screaming. Since that day, I've never brought him back to the market. And even now, when I hear a child laughing alone in the street, a cold fear rises in me, because I know it could happen again.